Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast. The podcast that is the Fire Away Podcast. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's do it.
Welcome back, my friends, to Fire Away Podcast. This is episode number 2. Hopefully, episode number 1 went smoothly great for you guys, and you had you on the edge of your seat. Our special guest is definitely a special guest, so we all owe a lot to Anna and all that she does for Fireline and for us individually. And it was awesome to hear her be a part of this, and I'm glad that she came on and gave an insight on kind of what we're going to be doing moving forward. So, Matthew Williams, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today.
Good, man. Hey, glad to have you. So, what's going on in Matthew's world right now? Anything good?
Not much. Just staying busy, trying to get everything taken care of.
Ready for firework day? Boom, boom.
I hope so.
Yeah. You shoot any off?
No. We'll be at the campground, so
It's a good thing.
that's frowned upon.
Well, you get to see him from the campground, though, right?
Oh yeah, the way where we camp, you can see. So I live in Lancaster County, where we camp.
Where is that again?
Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, not Lancaster.
Okay. There he is. Can you say Ross for me?
Ross.
Love it.
But yeah, where we're camping, you're up on top of the mountain. You can look all over Lancaster County and see all the firework displays going on.
Oh, very cool.
Then
Very
the campground does one of their own, so it's
All right.
nice.
Yeah, we go down to my wife's aunt and uncle's house every year, throw a big party, and we burn out a bunch of fireworks, our own shows off, and we've got the Maryland Yacht Club across the way who did it for years. They're not doing it anymore. Now it's someone around the bend. So, but just currently got a boat, so I may go out on the boat and check all the fireworks out from the water. So
There you go.
haven't quite decided yet, you know what I mean? But it's upon us. It got here quick.
It sure does.
Time.
Every year it comes quicker.
Time flies. I feel like after the 4th of July, it kind of just like the
Right
summer
there.
just kind of shoots after that.
Yep.
But I mean, we forget that 4th of July is the very beginning of
Yeah.
the summer. You know what I mean? But yeah, good. So you guys are going camping, you said?
Yep.
Camp a lot?
We do camp a lot. Not as much as we'd like to this year with the kids and sports and stuff. That put slowed the start of our season down, but we're rolling now. So
All right. So one of the things I forgot to say was welcome to Fire Away Podcast, right? Where we're always ready to fire away with anything and everything Fireline. So we're going to throw that in there just because, it's a good point to make that this is why we're here, right? We're here for Fireline. Today's episode is brought to us by the Customer Service Committee, okay? Where, they're always working behind the scenes to enhance your customer experience, both internally and externally, They'll always be on the lookout for new and exciting things coming out of the Customer Service Committee. We are going to be doing Employee Spotlight. So this week's Employee Spotlight is Matt Williams. Hey, Matt, welcome to the show, Matt.
thanks for having me today.
Hey, you're very welcome. Very welcome. So one of the things we're going to talk about is why customer service, why internal customer service to be exact, is so important. Why it's a necessity in any company, and to let our listeners understand that there is a difference between external and internal customers, right?
And why they're both important.
And why they're both important, for sure. So you gave us a little insight about who you are outside of Fireline. So how about a little something about who you are here in Fireline? Like, what do you do, where you came from, when you started, all that other good stuff.
Yeah, so I started back in 2006, so right out of high school. So this September will be 18 years that I've been employed here. Didn't know what I wanted to do right out of high school. I knew I wasn't going to college, and I definitely didn't want to do the military. Just because I had an older brother in there, and I was sick of people telling me what I can and can't do. So my buddy at the time, John Pletcher, was employed here, and he said, "Why don't you give fire protection a try?" So why not? So I've been here ever since. Started off as his helper in the system service department, then slowly became a lead technician, and then around 2016 or so, I became a system service supervisor, and then just recently became the fleet manager for Fireline.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
That sounds like an episode.
A lot more involved than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I think you mentioned the fact that you're also a firefighter, right? So
I am a firefighter.
let me ask you this: were you a firefighter prior to coming to Fireline, or did Fireline kind of spark that interest, or are there any correlation between the two?
So growing up, I always wanted to be a firefighter. Nobody in my family was, so it wasn't really anything that I could just get into right away. I was not a firefighter before I started Fireline. still always piqued my interest. But one of my neighbors had just recently moved in, and I started talking to him, and he was a firefighter at the local department, and he's the one that got me started in the whole thing. So I've been doing that for about 13 years now.
All right. And you love it, right?
I love firefighting.
It's good. Saving people's lives and property and,
Yep.
and just
A lot of people think it's just firefighter, fighting fires, but I'm telling you now, people call the fire department for everything. So you get medical calls, fire calls, and then calls that you have no idea why they're calling you.
and you have to respond, right?
You sure do.
You can't pick and choose over the phone what's
You
important,
can.
what's not. Correct.
Yes.
Kind of what fire protection is, right? When the customer calls in and they need service, we can't really pick and choose what we think is important, right? What matters to the customer matters to us.
Yep.
Hmm.
If they're calling us, they think it's important, so we had to think the same thing.
So where'd that come from? What matters to the customer matters to us. Why does that sound so familiar, man?
That I think that might be something that everybody that's employed by Fireline has seen.
Okay. All right. That would be from the customer service committee. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct.
All right. Now, speaking of the customer service committee, so how long have you? Well, actually, not you. That's kind of a two-part question, right? So, how long have you been involved with the customer service committee? How long has the customer service committee been around? And why did you feel like you should be a part of that, or how did you become a part of that?
So the customer service committee started back in 2019, and I've been a member of the committee since day one. It all came about. Anna had sent an email out company-wide to a whole group of people, just saying what her plan was, what she wanted to do, and just explaining what she like what the customer service committee was and why she thought it was going to be important and why she wanted to roll with it. So at that time, I had just recently became a system service supervisor, so I'd spent a lot of time in the field dealing with customers, and I thought I had pretty good customer service.
Sure.
I had formed good relationships with different customers throughout the years, so I figured, why not? Something that I'm interested in, and I think it's important. So I submitted my name, and then from there, I think she talked to department managers and stuff like that to get their input. She formed the committee, and then we sat down, and like I said, starting in 2019, Anna rolled out what her goal was and what she wanted to do with this committee and why she thought it was important. And I'm just going to say from day one, I thought I was good at customer service, but being a part of this committee opened up my eyes a lot and gave me a different perspective on it.
No, for sure. I've always felt like I was pretty good at customers too, and I was like, right, it's just be kind, be nice, right? And that's a simple explanation on customer service and the way to deal with people, whether it's customer wise or family members or just anybody else, right? You can always get by with being nice. But yeah, no, there's a whole lot more involved in it, and the way you need to interact with certain customers or certain people, and the hardest part in customer service, right, is to me, is when you have that conversation with a customer, right? We're talking about an external customer, for instance, even internal, right? When you know, after all your research, that they are wrong, they come to you, they're their issue, and they are absolutely incorrect, but they are hell bent on the fact that they are right, right? The hard part is really trying to navigate that conversation to where they understand they're wrong, but in a
Without
way,
telling them they're wrong.
right, where everybody feels like they accomplished something
Correct.
within that interaction, right? So,
Yep.
and that's something that we can learn, and that we talk about as far as conversations go, or customer service goes, and the little tidbits and tools that we try to put out at the customer service committee on ways to interact with people and customers, right?
Correct. And that's why when we finally did roll the program out to all the employees, we kept stressing the fact that this isn't a class, this isn't a new rule that you have to follow. This is more of just a guideline and to make you self-aware, and something to have in the back of your head so we can all improve on customer service. Because just like everything in life, no matter how good you are at something, you can always be better.
100%. 100%. Let me ask you this then. So since you started the committee, been a part of the committee, we really pushed this agenda as far as customer service goes. Would you say you can see a difference in the way Fireline handles customer service from internally and externally?
Oh, 100%. Big difference. And even just talking with fellow employees, you notice a big difference. And something as small as now when I walk across the parking lot, if somebody's up at the service entrance door or trying to carry 6 extinguishers, I see more employees engaging with that customer to help them out. And that's just being courteous.
100%. 100%. So I kind of touched on it a little bit right there, but so can you explain to us or tell the listeners, who are our customers?
So you have two types of customers, internal and external. So not going to lie, when we first started this program and the committee started going through this, and of course, all of us in the room are naming all of our external customers and who they are, whether it's the property managers, the store owner, the property owner, the maintenance man, whoever it was. Like that's what everybody's thinking of. And then Anna brought up about internal customer service. And not gonna lie, we kind of just all looked at each other like, wow, she's right, and then you dig into it and it's just as important as the external customer service.
You asked me, right? So I was the same way. I was kind of blown away and like, on the whole internal part of it. And I never really thought about it. And the more I've thought about it and the more I've been involved with the customer service committee, now I'm a part of the customer service committee. It wasn't in the beginning, but I am now. I feel the internal part is more important than the external part, only because the internal part, you interact a lot more internally than you do externally for the most part. And certain, like maybe salespeople interact more mainly with the external, right?
And it feels like it kind of lays that foundation. If you have that good internal customer service, that lays the foundation for everybody to go out and have that great external customer service.
Absolutely, right? If we're treating each other good, we have good interaction in-house, right? And you have to turn around and go out to a job site or pick a phone call from an angry customer, you're more apt to handle that a little better than you would going into that interaction already mad at me because we didn't treat each other very well, right? So super important. So how about some examples? Do you have any examples of good customer service internal wise? Anything that kind of happened to you that you can share?
I don't know if a specific time pops out in my head, but like I said, ever since we started this, it just seems like, and it's not like everybody's uncomfortable trying to go out of their way, but it's a lot different. Everybody seems they're just more self-aware and just talking to different employees throughout the office, and get to talk to people about that.
What are some things the customer service committee has been doing to promote better internal customer service?
So, like you said, you weren't a part of this committee from day one, but you recently came in and you're now the chairperson of the committee. And something that you brought up and then we all discussed as the committee was internal customer service. And we wanted to focus on internal customer service this year just to try to build it up and improve. Like I said, back when the committee started, internal customer service isn't what any of us thought it was and didn't even think of it as customer service. We don't look at each other as customers, which we are each other's customers. And even when we bring new hires in now, when we go through that, that's one of the things, like when you're going through the customer service presentation for the new hire, when you start mentioning internal customer service, you can see their eyes open up and they're like, man, they're right, but
yeah, I've done quite a few of the new hires recently, right? And I got to tell you, I would say out of the last, let's say 15 or 20 people that we brought through, 2 or 3 maybe have mentioned internal customer service. Like they it wasn't, that was a topic that they kind of brought up when we asked about it, right?
And you kind of look at them and you're like, listen, I was in the same boat. I'd never thought of each other, fellow employees, being customers. But so we're hitting hard on that this year. We've already had we had 2 game days within the office.
Yeah.
Just trying to get people to mingle with each other, different departments. Yes, we have different departments here within Fireline, but we try to make it important that, hey, we're all still one team. We're all Fireline. We have a tech car wash coming up. The techs don't get to come into the office as much as the office employees do and mingle with each other. So something we're going to try to do to improve that interaction is bring them in for a car wash. So we're going to have office people sign up, and then techs just going to come in throughout the day, and we're going to wash their car for them quick, have some snacks out there, and just have a simple conversation with them, try to get things going. And then we also have the Mario Kart tournament coming up also.
That sounds exciting. I've heard some serious trash talking on the whole Mario Kart thing. I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm not a Mario Kart guy myself, but we've had a couple of new hires come in too, already talking smack. Day one, talking Mario Kart smack, right? We have our IT guy, Mike Sirak. He tells me he's a Mario Kart guru too, right? So
I think he goes home and practices like
he had to put up or shut up as well. I mean, that's all I can say. So now, as a fleet manager, right? So taking on that role as a fleet manager, there's a lot to it, right? I'm sure you're handling, the vehicles and the buying and the purchasing and the car washes and the truck washes and the oil changes and anything else that goes out, right? Buying new vehicles. And again, we can get to that in a sound like another
episode.
podcast down the road. However, but so your customer service committee, right, or your training, and as well as your internal mainly, how has that kind of affected you as a fleet manager and you being able to do your job? Because obviously, as a fleet manager, you are dealing with everybody in Fireline, right? Not
Yes.
a specific department.
Correct. And that was a little bit of an adjustment for me, just because I've been with the system service department from day one. I've known different people from different departments and never like secluded myself, but I haven't had to really deal with the other departments too often. And then getting into this position, you do, like you said, you deal with everyone. And sometimes, you're asking like, hey, you need your oil change done. You're now 3,000 miles overdue, and you start getting a little more stern with them. But that's when you start thinking about that internal customer service, where you got to be courteous and be nice to them. And I got to realize too that their main focus is to make money for Fireline and not necessarily get their vehicle in. But I got to show them in a nice way that it's just as important, because if that vehicle breaks down, now you're not able to service that customer. And then that leads you back into the external customer service, where they're not going to be happy that we're not showing up and being efficient.
So one of the things that I've kind of come to fruition with me when I started the customer service committee, right, and then even being a part of the training that you guys first put together when we had that mandatory training that was volunteer at our time that Anna says in her video. The three pillars, right? What I liked about it is the fire triangle, right? Oxygen, heat, and fuel. You need those three things in order to start a fire, right? You take out any one of those, we extinguish the fire, right? Falls apart.
Yep.
And the customer service committee, you guys predicated your idea upon that same thing, right? Can you talk a little bit about the customer service triangle, what those pillars are, and kind of what they mean?
Yeah. So, like I said, when the committee was formed, Anna just gave us a basic idea of what she wanted and gave us basically guidelines. And then we pretty much came up with everything. So throughout that year, we sat down and Anna said she wanted to base it off the fire triangle. So we came up with 3 legs of our triangle, which is courtesy, efficiency, and accessibility. And we figured if you took any one of those away, customer service would fall apart. You wouldn't have the best customer service out there. And this is something that we're trying to be the leader on. And with in the construction industry, which we fall under, as we all know, customer service is not on the top of any company's list.
No, sure, right? Obviously, they're going to go out there they're going to tell all their employees, right? Be nice to the customer, right? Treat them with kindness and be nice and help them out, right? But they do not take the steps and the trainings and the nuances of a great customer service and creating that great customer experience like Fireline is trying to do, right? So there's no doubt in my mind that we're not already, even though we have a long way to go and a lot more learning to do.
We're already ahead of the game.
Right?
100%.
And it goes a long way. I'm a customer relations manager. I deal with a lot of customers, talk to a lot of customers, and that's the question I like to ask them. How do you feel your customer experience is, right? Not just the customer service, but not just, did the guy come out and do a good inspection, or, did they take care of a problem, but like overall from start to finish, from the time that salesperson sells that job to you, to, that invoice coming to you and any questions in between, how is your experience? And I've had numerous customers tell me, hey, it's great. The way you guys deal with us, the way you interact is fantastic.
And with you doing that position, that just gives another example of making Fireline as a whole more accessible, which is one of our pillars. So having you as a customer relations manager, that's just another way or a contact that customer can contact here at Fireline. Whether if they can't get a hold of a department manager or a supervisor, they know they can get a hold of you. So we're improving our accessibility as a whole. You reaching out to them, you're being courteous. That improves everything. That shows that we're not just out there to do your inspection that you have to have done. We genuinely are concerned and want to help you through everything, and with your fire protection needs.
Sure. And then we're also I've already got up and running now, a customer support team, and that's going to improve efficiency, right? So 100%. You touched on courtesy, you touched on accessibility, and then actually putting a team together that can get to those issues and needs a lot quicker. Yeah. That'll increase efficiency in getting these problems and taken care of.
And that's just like when we ended I don't want to say class because we always enforced it was not a class. When we ended the
experience
sessions, the 3 sessions, we let them know just because the sessions are done now, that's not the end of the customer service program. We're going to keep rolling things out, always looking to improve things. And just like we said, with what you're doing, it's just one of the many ways that we're looking to continue to improve.
Question for you. Did you know that we are on Instagram, fire_away podcast? Have you followed us on Instagram?
I 100% do follow us.
Absolutely. Right. So for all you out there, Mr. Mark Meyer has placed QR codes across the entire campus that all you need to do is show up with your phone, turn on the camera, and follow. Right? We're, I think 30 now, 30 plus
Yep.
In the last couple of weeks. So, follow us on Instagram and, become a part of the Fire Away podcast team. Man, we'd love to have you. Love to be a part of it.
If there's any ideas anyone has that they want to hear about or have a discussion, hear us have a discussion about, please submit your ideas. We're always looking for ideas that we can cover.
Sure. I mean, we'll be doing employee spotlight, so we want to make sure that it should have been covered in episode 1, obviously, but just reiterated on this episode 2. We're going to be doing employee spotlights and different things and everything Fireline. We have a lot of interesting people who work for Fireline that are just not based around fire protection, but as an individual, right? A lot of things. I've got stories. Matt's got stories. I know Mark, our own Kelly Kepley here, who sits in a cubicle very quiet, does a great job of what he does. Come to find out, wow, this guy is he's an artist and he's everything else. And then, our IT guy, Mike Sirac, we don't need to say anything about him because we all know that guy's the champion.
The best.
That guy's the champion. So Mark, Matt, whatever your name is. Anything else you'd like to kind of discuss, to go over? Anything else the listeners need to know about the customer service committee and what we're doing here?
No, just to remind everybody that, no matter how good you think you are at customer service, you can always improve on it. And, it's always something that we can improve on as a whole company. And remember that these are not rules of what you have to do or how you have to talk to a customer. These are just guidelines to help us all improve. And just to be self-aware and look out for more things coming out from the customer service committee.
I love it, man. I appreciate your input. One last question we'd like to ask all of our guests, right? If you could give yourself one piece of advice about Fireline on your first day, what would that be?
So, I wouldn't say this pertains to specifically Fireline, but fire protection. So, obviously, like I said, day one, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I come into work actually and orientation like they do nowadays. So my first day was out in the field helping the guy that got me hired here. So we come in and the dispatcher at that time says, "You guys are going to Back River today." So I look at my partner and said,
River.
"We're going to a river
place
today.
Smells great.
That can't be bad." Well, I quickly found out what Back River is. So my first day on the job, but we were troubleshooting some modules and stuff on an addressable system, and it was a little overwhelming at first. I'm thinking, man, how am I ever going to learn all this? But just for someone that's just getting into fire protection, that's starting at Fireline, obviously it's a great company to work for. I've been here 18 years, absolutely love it. But focus on one thing, get that under your belt. It's not as hard as it looks, and just be calm and patient.
And bring some nose clips.
Yes, if you're going to Back River.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate it. Right. Guys, this wraps up our Fire Away podcast episode number 2. We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Customer Service Committee, for this week's episode. We'd also like to thank our guest, Matt. Matt, thanks for being a part of the show, man. You were a great guest. I appreciate it. Our next episode will be highlighting the Safety Committee or safety-related items.
Sure.
So please stay tuned for that. We'll have that coming down the pike soon. And thank you for listening to Fire Away Podcast. We're all ready to fire away with everything and anything Fireline.
Have a great day, everyone.
See ya.
Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast.